Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In last week's video, if you guys watched it, you saw that I did a fall and a little bit of Christmas home decor haul. But before I start decorating and getting everything ready for fall in my home, I want to do a small project that I've been wanting to do that I'm excited to decorate when I'm done. And that is a entryway table or a console table, whatever you want to call it. I have a space inside my front door where I think one could work, but I want to be careful with the dimensions because I don't want it to crowd any other spaces. I'll get to that in a minute. But I saw one on Wayfair that is really like rustic and primitive. I really liked the finish on it. I liked the drawers. I thought it's a pretty good size, but the one thing that I do not like is the price. So in today's video, we're going to be trying to recreate that same piece, maybe mess with the dimensions a tiny bit for our space. That's the good thing of DIY is, first of all, it's a lot less expensive, or can be a lot less expensive, and you can customize it to your space. So I want to modify the table a little bit so it's going to work perfectly for where I want it to go. This is the area that I'm talking about right here. Here's the front door coming in. I think it would be really nice to have a console table here, maybe, I don't know, a mirror, a lamp or something. So I have plenty of space. I have this entire wall, but I want to make sure that when I open the door, that it doesn't open into the table. And I also need to think about this area here because we have the stairs right here. So how far the table sticks out. I don't want to impede this walkway. I mean, the table should not come all the way over here to be in line with this, but I just want to make sure that it doesn't feel crowded. So I'm gonna map it out with some tape after I take some measurements, and then I can kind of see how that's gonna feel. Okay, so this is obviously a very rough outline that we're gonna do here, but I just wanted to check to make sure that when this door is opened, we've got plenty of clearance here, and then it's not, if you're coming in the front door, this is how you'd be coming in, so it's not gonna stick out too far. Also, this way here, if it sticks out here, you've got plenty of space to walk by the stairs. Keeping those rough measurements in mind, I want to design the new table. I will link the table in the description, the one that I'm basing this off of. It has a lot of measurements, so I'm able to use those. Even if I don't use their exact ones, I'm going to look at their spacing that they have for different things like the drawers and things like that. So that will be extremely helpful when I'm designing this new console. So now that we've got everything mapped out how we want it, got everything designed with the dimensions that we want, I can go ahead and go to the store and get all of my materials that I'm gonna need for this console build. But first I need to grab some lunch. I'm gonna grab something real quick thanks to today's sponsor, Factor. Factor makes meeting your nutritional goals easier by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved meals right to your doorstep. It takes the stress out of meal planning so you can skip the grocery store, the prep work, and the cooking fatigue. Just figuring out what to cook kind of can get tiresome. So that's why I really like the Factor meals because they can be ready in 2 minutes. There are over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, and they're delivered right to your door. Factor meals are so helpful when I'm busy during the day working and I don't want to take the time to stop and actually fix a meal and all the prep that's involved with it. So I love that I don't even have to think about it. I can just grab one of the Factor meals, open it, put it in the microwave, in 2 minutes, I'm ready to go, eat my lunch, and then I can get back to work. So head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code ROMITO50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code ROMITO50 at factor75.com to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders. Okay, I got all of the wood, I didn't record anything in Lowe's because my kids are back in school and they're who usually help me record, and it feels kind of weird doing it by myself. But got all the wood here, so we'll get back home and unload that, and tomorrow we will be ready to get started with the actual build of the console. Okay, it's the next day and I used the plans that I designed to come up with a cut list so I can make all of my cuts, or at least most of my cuts, for the base, and then I will start assembling it. So this is what's gonna be our console table. This big 2x12 here is going to be the top, and so the legs are made out of these 2x4s that I'm going to rip down. But I want to show you the most important thing when you're picking out wood is that the board is extremely straight. It's going to be very, very difficult for you if you have warped boards. And then specifically when I was picking these out, I really liked a little bit of distressing in the wood, not like big gouges, but you can see like on this 2x12 too, it has these saw marks, which I thought was really nice. I'm only gonna lightly sand it because I like those marks. I think all of this is gonna contribute to it looking older and more kind of worn down over the years. All right, I got all 4 of my legs ripped down, and I wanted to show you guys kind of what the front is going to look like. So these are the ripped down legs, and then I have a 2x2 right here, and then a divider, and these are just gonna be the drawer faces. They're gonna actually be flush with the front. I just wanted to show you how it's all gonna be put together. And then these are the side pieces. I used the scrap of what I ripped down for the legs and cut that to size, and the side is gonna look like this. And I'm going to be attaching the sides to the legs, everything all together with pocket holes. So I'm gonna use my Kreg jig here to drill some pocket holes into these side pieces. All right, I brought all of my pieces inside to start assembling, and I'm going to be attaching them together. I've got my wood glue, and then also I have my Kreg screws. So I'm gonna lay it out, attach everything together with my Kreg screws and the wood glue, and that should give us a nice solid bond between the wood, and it shouldn't feel really flimsy. Okay, I've made a mistake on the table here. I designed it, I think, to be too wide. I think it's taking up too much space and it kind of looks more like it's gonna be a desk. And I think entryway tables, I think it should be narrower, and that's what I want. I want it to be narrower. So it's better that it's too wide than too narrow as far as needing to fix it, because I can just remove these side pieces and then trim these down, and it'll bring the table in to be more shaped like this. All right, I brought the table out here into the garage because it's about to get pretty messy. It's already started getting messy. And before I sand everything down, I'm distressing it. Do you see how the edges of this are kind of like wavy here versus this straight edge that looks like brand new wood here? I'm using just this chisel and I'm just kind of going along the edges in different places and gouging into the wood. This is softwood, it's pine, so it's gonna be easier than if this was a hardwood. Just gives it this really aged look here, and I am gonna sand over this just to make everything smooth, because old wood, it may not be completely like straight, like brand new wood like this, but over time it naturally is gonna be worn down and smooth. So I'm doing this first, and it's gonna look a little like fuzzy, you can see right here, but once I sand that, then it should be smooth and old looking. That's the goal. Now that I've got everything all distressed here, I want to go through and sand it. So I've already started right here, and I am not undoing everything that I just did. You can still see that the wood has imperfections. I'm using a 220 grit because I want it to be smooth to the touch, like old wood, like it's been just banged up and smoothed up over the years. You can see the difference here. Doing that wire brush and things just made the wood really fuzzy. It's not smooth. Like if I ran my hand over this wood, I would definitely get a splinter, but not this. This is completely smooth. All right, it's time to finally get this entryway table stained slash painted. I'm gonna be using a new technique. It's called color washing. So pine is notoriously difficult to stain. It can be splotchy, and I'm looking for a more uniform look. So instead of using stain, I grabbed this chalk paint. I just got this at Walmart, and I'm gonna be layering some different colors to get the layer that I want. You water it down. So I think I'm using 2 parts water to 1 part paint, and that's going to give it a really like transparent look. So when you brush it on, it's gonna look like stain, but it's not going to sink into the wood and be splotchy. It's gonna sit on top. You can see here I've been testing a bunch of different colors that like this is too warm and this is too gray, and then just layering some different ones. And I really like this little look right here. It's kind of like a bleached wood look. I think it's pretty close to the inspiration picture. But the first layer that I did on this was this really warm color. This is the chalk paint in hazelnut, and it's really a warm brown, but we're going to be layering this gray on top of it to really cool it down, and then possibly a little bit of white. So I wanted to start off with something pretty warm. So I'm going to be taking my brush and make sure that this is all mixed up, and then I'm going to paint it on pretty generously, and then I'm going to take paper towels and wipe it off almost immediately. Okay, I let that first coat dry, and then I mixed up a batch here of some like ivory white chalk paint, and I did 1 part chalk paint to 15 parts water, so it's really watered down. And I started brushing it on here. I don't know if you can tell the difference on camera, how this has been kind of whitewashed and this hasn't. It just gives it more of a muted, old, aged, antiqued look, I guess. Not quite so bright and newly stained. So I'm going to brush that on everything else and let that dry. Okay, I brought the table back inside just so I can get a better idea of the coloring, and I'm liking the bleached tone, but it's still a little warm. It's coming off a little yellow. So I think I'm gonna go over it with a light coat of this chalk paint. I'm gonna really water this down. This is in the color Mineral. I'm gonna really water this down, and if I need to do multiple layers, we'll see. But I'm gonna brush that on and let it dry and see if it can't tone down these yellow tones and give us a more natural look. All right, I think that's a little better. Also, I think on camera that it's pulling up more yellow than it looks in real life. I'm wondering if I can get a close-up so you can actually see the color. But it's falling a tiny bit flat to me, like a little too chalky. So I want to wax it to protect it. I'm going to use this clear wax here with this wax brush. Now, if it does change the color and make it a little bit too orange, I also have this white wax and then an antiquing wax here that's like a brown color, because after you put the wax on, the painting is done. There's no more painting. You can't paint over the wax, but you can wax over the wax. So I thought it was a good idea to start with this clear, because if I need to add different colors after that, I can. I've never done this before, so let's give it a shot. Okay, it definitely deepens the color a little bit, but it's supposed to be super matte, so we'll see as it dries what happens. But you can tell the difference between not waxed, and I mean, this will be more protected. So after it dries completely, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of this, and after it dries completely, then I'll decide if I wanna add some more of this white wax. Okay, I think the last thing that I'm going to do here is use this antiquing wax, and I've been taking a smaller brush and I've just been kind of putting it into all these little cracks here, these little divots that we made, and then when I'm just wiping it off the surface, but it stays in those, and so it really makes those stand out and makes it look, you know, old and distressed, like it's been dinged up. Okay, I played around with that wax forever. It was really interesting to learn how to do something new, but I just spent forever tweaking it because it doesn't have to be perfect, but in my brain it does. Anyway, so the last thing that I need to do, well, second to last thing, is I need to put the knobs on the drawers, and then I need to attach the top to the base, and then this console will be done. Okay, so I showed you guys how much the original console table was and how I was never gonna pay that. And I think I probably spent in between $100 and $120 by the time I got all the different waxes and the paints and things. That was just me sampling a lot too. So if you knew exactly what you wanted, you could probably save a little bit of money, but $125 compared to the other one, I think is a really good deal. Now they're not exactly the same, it's just inspired by it, but I think it's close enough to not have to pay that price for the more expensive one. So make sure that you guys are subscribed. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the table, and I will see you guys in next week's video. Bye.